Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June 18th Education and Pupil Services Committee. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We're going a little out of order tonight, but we're going to award the Service to Children Award tonight. Over the last 38 years, this Upper Darby School District educator has dedicated her life providing guidance and support to the staff of the Upper Darby School District and its students. Over 3 decades, she spent 2 years at Beverly Hills Middle School, 10 years at Drexel Hill Middle School, and the last 26 years working at the Upper Darby High School. When she first interviewed and earned a family and consumer science position at Drexel Hill Middle School, she also agreed to coach cheerleading. This was just the beginning of her willingness to go above and beyond for the students of the Upper Darby School District. In her 38 years, she has also worked for 6 different superintendents: Pete Verandino, Joe Battori, Bernie Carrozza, Joe Galley, Lou DeVliger, and Dr. McGarry. Along with this list of district superintendents, she has worked alongside of numerous principals: Mel Brodsky, Joe Galley, Greg Manfrey, Gil Manici, Jeff Kramer, I might have said that wrong, Chris Dormer, Ed Roth, and now Kelly Simone. If you were to ask each past and present administrator, they would all tell you what a positive influence our award winner has been for this community. Let me quickly review just a little of what our award winner has provided this district. She was awarded 2 state grants that allowed her to develop interdisciplinary units where she taught nutrition to the middle and elementary schools. She took great joy in providing food for the needy during Thanksgiving. In fact, there were years where she would help collect over 8,000 food items for the Upper Darby Food Pantry. When she transitioned to the Upper Darby High School from Drexel Hill Middle School, she began to teach all of the home economics courses. Eventually, she really found her niche with leading the preschool lab program. The preschool lab program has now become one of the most successful course offerings in the Upper Darby High School and has provided numerous children with their first educational experience. During her tenure teaching the preschool lab, she was able to mold young adults and promote the field of education. The preschool lab program was just another innovative educational opportunity developed in this district. Our award winner had a nickname for our future educators. She referred to our high school students as big teachers. Our big teachers, well, my daughter's one of those. Our big teachers, as she called them, learned more than just how to create lessons to teach young children. They learned strong interpersonal skills and how to handle conflicts and everyday life lessons. Over time, oftentimes, she had a child in the preschool lab that would later take her class when they reached high school and was always rewarded with fond memories and appreciation. Imagine working with a child in preschool and then having them in your high school class. There is no greater sign of respect than for 4- and 5-year-olds to look forward to working with you as a teenager. While not working in the classroom with students, our award winner coordinated the Student Assistance Program, SAP, at both Drexel Hill Middle School and Upper Darby High School. During her middle school years, her SAP team won the Student Assistance Program National Excellence Award. She continued to work on providing our students the best services we could when they needed them the most. After being trained in mediation, she began her first student mediation program in the district at Drexel Hill Middle School. Eventually, her program expanded, and she began to work with district parents and students in mediation at the high school. When Dr. Cheryl Macklin retired from Upper Darby High School, she took over the high school as the high school SAP coordinator. Through this program, she continued her passion for helping students and families get the support for issues that posed a barrier to their success. She has worked tirelessly to bring attention to these barriers through Red Ribbon Week and school assemblies. The entire Upper Darby High School staff knew that when you needed guidance for helping a student, she was the person to go to. Marilyn West Nolte from Holcomb Behavioral Health Services had this to say about our award winner. I had the pleasure of working with her for the past 10 years in the Student Assistance Program. Each morning, I was greeted with her beautiful smile, attention to detail, and genuine passion for working with students. A typical day would entail students coming to the office, wanting to talk to Miss B, telling her about their accomplishments, or just simply to say hello. This was not surprising, given her unspoken message of, "I am here, I am listening, and I will help." How fortunate for students to know what it is like to gain a valuable life skills by working to their best of their ability, pushing their limits, and feeling a sense of joy, all of which Heather imparted daily. Along with providing student services to Upper Darby High School students for the last 26 years at the Upper Darby High School, this Service to Children Award winner managed to take on aspects of the high school's graduation project. As I am sure you can now tell, our award winner did not do anything halfway. Eventually, she expanded her influence through teaching the graduation project, taking on the planning and coordinating of graduation, and becoming the coordinator at the high school for the Pennsylvania Student Assistance Program. Wherever she has worked, and no matter what her role has been in the district at any level, our winner has focused on making her students better in every way. She has helped the children find confidence in their public speaking, writing, and time management. As graduation project teacher, Heather helped her students become better writers and public speakers. Although this class was not in her traditional areas of expertise, Heather took the opportunity to mold and guide her students to become better public speakers and overall to better identify in their own positive attributes and celebrate them. In other words, she found the talent in the children she served and coached them to greatness. Oftentimes, her graduation project students received the highest grades, and they were better prepared for college and life after high school because of her support. In a twist of fate, she took on the role of planning the high school graduation. Heather put her heart and soul into planning of such an important event in the lives of our students and families. For 38 years, she has always found ways to support students outside of the classroom. She has attended almost every play, musical, and choral concert. She went to almost every senior prom, countless sporting events, and was a big support for football fundraisers. One of her favorite events to attend was the gala. When tragedy struck a student or a family member of the community, she was always there to help by donating clothing or by finding a way to offer support. As she embarks on the next stage of her journey, the Upper Darby School District is losing a dynamic educator who has a way of reaching all of her students, big and small. Her professionalism is immeasurable. We are so lucky to have we are so lucky to have worked with her. She truly is a pillar of the school district and the community. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the 2019 Service to Children Award recipient, Mrs. Heather Bardinelli. When administrators refer to the Upper Darby family or what it means to be a Royal, they are referring to someone like Heather. Her colleagues have been her brothers and sisters, her students, and were just like her own children. Heather has truly made the service to our students a priority, and we are blessed to have had her in the district.
Folks from the Pupil service and your family come up and get a picture for us too? Yeah. It's a big deal. Why don't you come on up? All the guys
I know.
What's Cupsy doing up here? Love you, Cubs.
Tonight we have 5 agenda items, first of which is the Delaware County Literacy Council. It's informational only for the board and the public. Dr. Manfrey is going to present some data for a program that we offer to our adult learners here in the Upper Darby community. We have some members from the Delaware County Literacy Council to also present with Dr. Manfrey, and also a story of one of our community members who participated and benefited from that program. The second agenda item is for board action. It's the Best Buddies Club. We're looking to get permission to start a club called the Best Buddies, or founded by the Best Buddies here in Upper Darby High School and Drexel Hill Middle School. It's a program that it's an inclusive practice with students who are disabled and not disabled to make friendships and be together throughout the school day and during extracurricular activities. Agenda item number 3 is also for board action. There's 2 sections to agenda item number 3. The first one is a one-page calendar. I'll review some of the updates and changes to the one-page calendar that will be going into effect for next school year, the 1920 school year. I'll also review the professional development calendar in accordance with District Policy 333 and highlight some of the things we'll be doing next school year in our area of professional development for curriculum instruction and pupil services and staff overall. Agenda item number 4 is informational only. This is the Wellness Committee annual update. Every year we do an update on our annual wellness policy and some things in the work that the group has done over the course of the year to reflect in the policy, but to also make sure we are in line with what is expected and recommended in terms of the wellness policy. It's policy 246. And last but not least, for board action, we were reviewing policies that went through a first reading. Policy 103, non-discrimination and discriminatory harassment in school and classroom practices. Policy 103.1, which is non-discrimination for qualified students with disabilities. And Policy 104, which is non-discrimination, discriminatory harassment in employment practices here in the district. So with your permission, Ms. Mitchell, move forward.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so first up, as I said, is Dr. Manfrey, and I'll turn it over to him and members of the Delaware County Literacy Council.
Good evening. Come on up. So I'd like to just give you a little background very, very briefly. Delaware County Literacy Council partners with Upper Darby School District through our Title III funding to provide Upper Darby School District families and parents of some of our students with English language learning classes here at Upper Darby High School. In addition to that, the program has expanded to include GED courses as well. With me tonight is Kate McGeever, who is the Executive Director of the Literacy Council. She's taking the night off. Liz Brennan, the Director of Student Services, and Kim Robinson, who is a case manager at the Delaware County Literacy Council, but I think they consider one of their most special employees. So we're going to start with a brief video, and then Kim would like to say a few words to the board regarding the positive impact that the Delaware County Literacy Council has had on her and the partnership with Upper Darby School District. So Harry?
She's the epitome of what we're all about.
I think Kim is an inspiration to anyone who knows her.
Regardless of the barriers in her life, Kim was determined to get her GED and was willing really to go to any lengths to make sure that happened.
My name is Kimberly Robinson. Everybody just calls me Kim. I'm from West Philly originally, but I live in the Upper Darby area now. And I'm the new student support specialist here at the Literacy Council. When I was 18, I was pregnant with my son, and I had a subarachnoid hemorrhage in my brain. And because of the hemorrhage, it left me with some impairments after.
Kim had a stroke when she was about 18, and afterwards, it kind of left her not able to write, not really able to read really well, and actually she forgot how to spell her name.
My interaction with other people wasn't that good at the time. So I had to kind of learn everything all over again. I did 2 years in loss rehabilitation. I learned to walk without a limp and just spent time learning how to do the things that at 18, I'm sure I was taking for granted.
I remember Kim when she first came. She was nervous. She was this person, very smart woman who had lost some capabilities and was working her way back to where she is.
We thought that she would never really read past the 5th grade level.
Kim came in so shy and humble and uncertain that this was the right place for her, that she could reach her goals.
First person I met when I got here was Deb Charlie. And she told me the day I came here, my very first day, she said, you know what, you got this, you'll be fine. And we are going to dance down that aisle at graduation.
She was a star pupil from the very beginning, while having 2 young children at home and taking care of her family, and was just an inspiration to me and to the other students there. And she also volunteered at her kids' schools. She just was on the ball in every respect. There was an essay contest that was run. I volunteer at my daughter's school, Delaware County Intermediate Unit Head Start, helping with everything from mealtime to circle time to playing games to take-home projects. I'm vice president of the parent committee and was very happy to receive the Volunteer Achievement Award last year. I have come to love the kids, and working with them has lit the fire in me to do more and to want more. I am taking classes leading up to the GED and someday hope to go to college to study early childhood education.
She takes the initiative. Like she's making her life what she wants her life to be. 2 more classes after this semester, she's done her bachelor's degree, plus bringing up 2 children that are teenagers, so not easy.
In the beginning, my goal was just to get a GED, and I couldn't see past that. And then as it was becoming more real, my goals started to shift a little bit. And when it seemed almost actually attainable, I said, you know what, this is crazy, but I think I want a degree.
Kim's the type of person that when I think about the work I do here, it makes it all worthwhile.
It also was inspirational that we, as the kind of organization we are, that we were there for her, and that felt very validating.
I'm proud of my daughter. She's doing a great job. And I really want her to do this for her. However, I really want her to do it for me because she has desires and I'd like to see her dream fulfilled.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Kim Robinson.
Thank you guys so much. What can I say, man? My dream has been fulfilled so much, 10 times over. My experience with the Literacy Council changed my life. It really did. I had the support that I needed, and I couldn't find that in any other program, really. No one would even work with me. And they brought me in and got me where I needed to be. And really at that point, I loved learning and went for my degree. And since this video, I believe this was October, since October, I recently, 30 days ago, maybe, obtained my bachelor's degree and applied organizational behavioral psychology from Albright College. I've moved into the full-time case management role at the Delaware County Literacy Council, and I work with students on a daily basis to help them work through the barriers that are keeping them from obtaining their goals. And it really has been my heart's joy. Thank you.
It's a great segue for us to go to Liz Brennan, who's going to be presenting to you some data regarding some of the classes here at Upper Darby High School and the impact it has on our families and our parents here at Upper Darby. And by the way, Kim, you're an Upper Darby parent,
I
right?
am an Upper Darby parent, yes.
Tell them what school your child goes to.
So I have one child in Beverly Hills Middle School, and I have one child here at the high school.
Liz?
Hi, thank you. Kim is part of my team at the Literacy Council for student support. So we do case management and job coaching and so much more. And she really is that amazing to work with. Who we are. So we've been around since the 1970s in Chester, and we help adults read, write, math, English skills, language skills, so that they can thrive in their workplace and their community. It all started on an each one, teach one philosophy back then, and it was a one-on-one mentoring, which turned into tutor pairs, to small groups, to classes, and we still have all of those, which almost over 100 tutor pairs, just on their own without classes. So it's come quite a ways. So there's typically in what we see in the ESL that there's common misconceptions that they don't want to be involved in their child's education. In fact, research has proven that when a parent is more involved in their child's education, the child is going to have better outcomes. So it's the same thing as when, teaching families to work with better their English skills. They say they want to help their children with homework and better understand what they're doing. So effective parent language programs have helped numerous children in their academics, their behavior, their attitudes towards school. And as long as they keep continuing their education, they're going to continue to support their children. Even we see it with the GED and adult basic education people, that they help with their students. And most parent ESL programs suffer from a lack of attendance. That's the only thing that we don't have a problem with. We are bursting at the seams here, and we are so happy to be here. So, program details. So we started in 2013, and I think we started with a class for ESL or two, and it has ballooned to 12-week sessions 4 times a year. And it was really important to be here 4 times a year because this is where the students are. This is where they want to come. This is where they're comfortable. And our classes are free. Our ESL classes, we are now up to expanding our levels of beginner, advanced beginner, intermediate, advanced, and high advanced, which means a whole lot in the education world. We also do 1 to 2 GED or adult basic education, ABE courses. They meet 2 nights a week for a total of 6 hours, 2 nights a week for 6 hours per week. Each adult student posts tests and takes assessments, and that's how we report them to the Department of Education and move them up through their courses. So since the 2013, when we had 62 participants, we have now ballooned to almost 400, which is where our parents went from 9 to 59. So we are just gathering more parents, and you can see while they are not all parents, what we're seeing is that they're all a majority are Upper Darby residents. Can't say they all are, but most are. They are typically family of the parents of your students, cousins. They've all hear about it, and then they all flood in, which is awesome for us. So that's why we've gotten up to 400 with a lot of parent involvement. And as you can see, most of our students come in through our English as a second language courses, and then we have some GED students for our total of parents, so we see our gains. We consider them a student after they are in class for 12 hours a week, and we do testing to see their gains. We rolled out a student satisfaction survey. So 41% of the students in Upper Darby met with one of our employment coaches to help them get jobs within the county. 61% actually have somebody to help them study at home. So that was interesting to see that our teachers can give them homework to work on, and they do have somebody to help them at home. They had suggestions. 43% offered suggestions. They want more class time, they want computer instruction, and they want more conversation practice. We're actually addressing all of those things, and one of those things is more class time, which is we want to be here year-round. 86% of our students do study outside of class. They want to be here, they want to learn. So this is your students. These were taken last week, right down the hall. This is their language of what they are saying. That is improving their life. It is improving how they interact in their community. They are better able to help their children with schoolwork, and they feel better. So many of them like to stay here so much, they kept asking for summer classes. So thank you for your time and room availability.
Yeah, just some brief background. As part of the Title III requirements, we're required to spend a certain amount of federal dollars on parent and community involvement. We speak about the expansion of this program. I want you to know that the expansion of this program has not cost Upper Darby School District anything additional since 2013. We are still partnering with the Delco Literacy Council, and we take federal money, $20,000 worth of our Title III money, and that's it as far as our partnership with them. And of course, we allow them to use our facilities for our parents and our community members. So it's been really a great partnership, and we hope to continue for a long time into the future. Does anyone have any questions?
How do you advertise? How is the word spread about this program?
Upper Darby in particular, we send out a flyer to all the parents. So we go through that, and then we do have a student recruiter that will go out in the community. We are in the 69th Street area. We have our own little office area down there as well, where our employment coaches come so that they can, easier access over here to work. So.
And just another question. Personally, are you ever looking for volunteers to help you?
Always.
Okay.
On our website, we always take volunteer tutors because
Okay.
we do have, like I said, over 100 tutor pairs. When it's not the summer, we can run up to 20 classes, and there's small groups sprinkled in there that are all over the Upper Darby area. So we are, it's www.delcoliteracy.com, and we can pass it along, I'm sure. But we love being here. It is a safe space for our students. They are happy, and we are very happy. Thank you.
I've been here a few nights when class has been letting out, and it's quite a community that's been created too. So I think that's great. It's great to see people connecting with each other, and that's really what it takes to create a sustainable community. So thank you for all the work that you're doing. Anybody else have any?
I just wanted to say thank you, Kim, for pushing forward for yourself, but for actually helping the community here in the Upper Darby community, because that is it's critical for people to see the successes of people like yourself that can push through any type of adversity. And so thank you for sharing your story.
Just a quick question. Congratulations, first of all, Kim. Is a master's degree in your future next? Not to put pressure on you.
That's what I said to her, but then she yelled at me.
We'll see. We'll see.
Teaching certification, perhaps?
Thank you again. I don't think there's any further questions.
Thank
from
you
the
so
board.
much.
Thank you.
So next up, we have a presentation about the Best Buddies Club. I'm going to invite up. We have three people here to help present with this. We have Amanda Remetter, who's a high school teacher, Kate Flanagan, who's also a high school special education teacher, and Carly Kraus, who's a representative from the Best Buddies organization, to talk a little bit about what the club's going to look like, some background, and where we're going with this. Carly and I have been in contact for about over a year now about bringing Best Buddies to the Upper Darby School District. And all the while that Carly and I are talking about setting up meetings and meeting with the Drexel Hill staff and Dr. Alloway, and then Kelly Simone and the high school team, Kate was doing the same thing. So we're both working on the same idea, but not knowing it at the same time. So we kind of came together and said, we're both doing all this work. Let's just get it done and get it moving. So I'm going to let them present the bulk of the project. But Best Buddies is an international organization that works on really the primary goal is building lifelong friendships, connecting students with disabilities, with students who are not disabled. But I'm going to let Carly talk about her program. She does it much better than I do, and I'll kick it off to her.
All right. Hi. I'm the program manager, mission expansion for Best Buddies in our Philadelphia office. A little background. Best Buddies started in 1989 by Anthony Kennedy Shriver, part of the Kennedy family, pretty well known. His mom started Special Olympics, and when he was in college, he wanted to start a friendship program because he noticed a lot of people, adults especially with disabilities, once they go through school, and even in school back then, there wasn't a lot of inclusion. So he started that one program there, and now we have around close to 3,000 schools worldwide. We're in all 50 states and 50 countries, and just here in our office, it's myself, another program manager, and our area director. We cover the east side of Pennsylvania with 70 schools now. Pittsburgh, they're a little behind us at 32, so we're in the works, to really get every school in Pennsylvania and worldwide involved. We have a list of about 10 schools that are looking to open up in the beginning of next school year, so I hope, there will be 2 more on board. So what the program looks like is basically we match a student with a disability with a typical peer. So the schools kind of has the advantage of doing that to their discretion. So if someone, let's say you have a student with a disability who's very passionate about the Eagles, and then you have another student, a typical peer that's very passionate about the Eagles as well. They have that one thing in common, but that one thing can lead to numerous things that they have in common, and that can kind of lead to a lifelong friendship. We have school programs from elementary school, which is new for Pennsylvania, all the way up to adulthood. So students, we would love to have students involved from, a very young age up until, the day they die. I was involved when I was in college at Bloomsburg University, and I'm still best friends with my buddy to this day. So it really is a very powerful organization to be involved with. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Each month, the club as a whole has an event. That's basically just, bring everyone together to have a more inclusive environment and that sort of thing. And then we also do have other events throughout the year, free events that we invite all of our participants to be involved with. So our goal is to basically have just an inclusive environment where students can, look around the hallways and see that just because someone looks different and sounds different doesn't mean that they are different. Everyone kind of needs the same basic necessities, and I think Friends is a huge part of that. So Best Buddies just kind of is a stepping stone to break down that barrier, and hopes that our main goal as an organization is to kind of shut down our business, just because we want inclusion to be such a prominent thing in schools and worldwide and in the community that you don't need organizations like Best Buddies to be there to kind of help you along. So I brought some information, not enough for everyone here, but if you do want more, you can always go to bestbuddies.org, and that'll lay out a lot of the information. It'll give you all the other schools that you have on the east side of Pennsylvania, especially in Delaware County. Haverford High School and Haverford School District in general has a very, very strong presence in our organization, so they're always, somebody to ask questions to also, so thank you.
And then kind of to segue from what Carly was saying is, so my name is Kate Flanagan. I'm a special education teacher here at the high school. And I have firsthand experience of being an adult and a teacher as working with it. I helped out at a previous school district that I worked at before coming here. And with such a large population, I was shocked that we didn't have it. And that's, after my first year, I started to get my feet wet, and that's when I started to reach out to Mrs. Simone and then to Carly, and then with Mr. Marshallek, and we all kind of got together. So the main reason why I wanted to bring it to Upper Darby School District is because of that inclusivity that it teaches. It teaches all kids outside of school that no matter what, everyone has something in common. And more importantly, that everybody needs a friend. So it's a chance for students to spend time with others. It's a great experience. It's a whole bunch of just hanging out and having fun. And that's the main mission of why I want to bring it, is because it's a fun way to do it. So what it would look like for us in the future is a breakdown of 2 presidents, 2 vice presidents, 2 treasurers, 2 secretaries. And these would be the buddy pairs. So it's giving the students with disabilities and without that leadership experience, but it's also showing students with disabilities that they can be a part of a bigger organization. And then the committees would also be committees that would work together to plan the events, as well as, just recruiting people to join. I think that's the big thing, is that we can get so many people involved in this, whether they have a buddy or not. Everyone is going to be welcome in this club.
Okay, so if there are too many buddies, what is the option for the typical peers? What could they do?
So there's a couple options that I've been kind of thinking about. One of them is being like a buddy group, where you could have 1 or 2 students with a disability and then 4 or 5 students without disabilities kind of as a group. And then it's kind of promoting still like that group hangout, but in a smaller piece than the whole entire community as a whole.
To add to that, everyone that is a part of the organization does need to fill out a membership application online and have parent consent if they were under the age of 18. Obviously, liability issues to save us and to save you guys as well. But basically anyone, so those students that, let's say there's a surplus of typical peers that want to be in the program, not all of them can be matched in a one-to-one friendship or in a friendship with a student with a disability, or they might just not be comfortable yet. They're still able to be a part of it. They would just be considered an associate member, where they would attend the events, you know, be a part of things, go to the clubs. They just wouldn't have that one-to-one friendship.
So some of the events, the once-a-month events that Ms. Krause had mentioned, some of the things that we were kind of shooting around ideas for would be just in September, just like a get-to-know-you social. October, they do the football game with the kids in the costumes, and they ferry them all out. So I thought that would be fun for the groups to do as well. In November, help with the Thanksgiving drive as part to give back to the community, as well as being a part of the Best Buddies group. And then in December, kind of like a holiday party. And then from there, I kind of want to work with the students to plan out the rest of the year. Because ultimately, I would like this to be a student-run organization with just an advisor just to be there to kind of bounce ideas off of. But to start kids off, have it set up ready to go, and then they can take the ball from there. So fundraising is a big part of Best Buddies. Ms. Cross, do you want to talk about the name brand?
So the only cost for having a chapter is it's just for our high school and college chapters, and that's $350. What that does is it sends the upcoming chapter president for the next year to our leadership conference. That's coming up in a month for us. This is going to be my first one, but basically it is just an amazing experience where students all across the world come together at Indiana University. In Indiana, not IUP, and they get to experience just everything Best Buddies. We have opening and closing ceremonies. We have little seminars and workshops where we personally work with the students one-on-one in group settings to, you know, teach them how to be a good leader. And that way, you know, the advisor can kind of step back and it does become more of a student-run program. Not only do we have our friendship program, we also have an ambassadors program that we open up to high school and adults with disabilities and without. And that's where we teach them how to advocate for themselves in our program. So we do different trainings throughout the year. And with those trainings, we teach students with disabilities how to write a speech. And that's a lot of our ambassadors actually. We have 5 ambassadors from our office coming with us. One he went to Haverford. He's our Best Buddies kind of just go-to guy for everything, just so motivated and so passionate about it. So he's coming with us in hopes that he will stand in front of over 3,000 people and give his speech about what Best Buddies means to him and how it's impacted his life. So, you know, you'll get to hear all those speakers and all of these things. So it's just an amazing opportunity, and the $350 covers the room, board, and food for the weekend. So it is mandatory that all of our high schools and colleges attend, just because we do want that to be all these students to, you know, have that experience and also gain all this knowledge to come back and make their chapter even successful for the years to come.
And Mr. Mentor and Ms. Feining will be our faculty advisors for this club here at the high school. And we have 2 teachers at Drexel Hill who act in the same role at Drexel Hill Middle School as well. And all that is on the attached ARs for requests for a student group.
Thank you for that. I think this is a great program, but I think you will find that I'm happy that we're formalizing this program, but I think you will find in Upper Darby School District that the majority of the students do embrace children with disabilities. Going through the district myself and my 3 children, if there is an incident that does occur with a child in the school, it is amazing how the kids just rally around, take that child under their wing. But I'm very excited that you are going to formalize this program. So I noticed you mentioned Drexel Hill Middle School and Upper Darby High School, but not Beverly Hills Middle School. So if Beverly Hills wanted to be part of this program, could they come to the events? And I guess I just want to understand that.
So the reason why we picked those 2 schools was because of the programming at each of the middle schools to start. And then we're gonna grow from there. So we don't want to start too big, because we want to kind of chunk it, but we also recognize we have a large population of students with significant cognitive disabilities at Drexel Hill that will also benefit from this program in addition to our high school. So that's why we're starting there first. Those programs do not exist or will not exist next school year at Beverly Hills. So we're going to start with that group first, those 2 schools, and then grow from there.
If anybody from Beverly Hills wanted to get involved in this program, could they do it? Being over on at Beverly Hills Middle, could they be involved? I think that's what Ms. Jordan was kind of saying. Could they go to the
events.
programming and the events and kind of I guess we should be kind of advertising it and marketing it to that middle school level period.
Right. My understanding, it's a student club at the school, so we can certainly look into that and see what we're allowed to have them participate. The goal is to have it everywhere, as many as we can. But again, we didn't want to start too big, but we can review the policy and the ARs for a student club if it's allowed to go across from 2 schools.
This sounds fabulous. I know when my own children were at Hillcrest, for instance, with the life skills program, informally they had their buddies. So I think it's great that we're going to continue that through the middle school and high school level. But they do get rather protective of their friends for years to come. So I think it's great because all kids need friends and social activities. So this hopefully will fill that gap. So thank you. Thank you.
Next agenda item is the calendars for next school year, for the 1920 school year, the first of which is the one-page calendar. I'm going to highlight a couple of the changes that we'll be going through, and again, this is for board action as well. If you take a look, I know it's big, it's a lot on there, but just some highlights are from August 26th to the 29th of this coming school year, so going into the 1920 school year. We'll have an early dismissal for all students in grades K through 8. As a result of a conversation about the heat and the temperature at that time of the year, it will be a full day for staff, however, those days. Our high school students will have the alternating schedule as they have in years past because of the air conditioning that is maintained here at Upper Darby High School. But the other half of those days are going to be professional development days for staff K through 8, which we'll get to in our next presentation on the professional development calendar. In addition to that, we extended the science PSSA window has been extended to May 4th and May 5th, which was not on the original version of the calendar. And we also adjusted June 10th, which is the last day for students in grades K through 11, to be a half day or early dismissal for students on that day. Previously, it was a full day for staff and students, which is difficult to pull off at the last day of the school year. But other than that, that's the bulk of the changes that were made for this version. And again, it's for board action. Any questions on that piece?
One of the recommendations moving forward the next school year would be snow days, given the school year, that there be consideration given to making up all snow days for next school year. So we should make sure that we stay out ahead of that at each point in time.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's really important because, any lost instructional time is
It is an
lost
impact.
instructional time.
Correct.
And it's a huge impact on students. Thank you.
So next part is the PD calendar. And if you will notice, this is a breakdown of our hours and time. We actually increased the hours for next school year of professional development time from about 57 hours that were held this school year to almost 70 hours, or a range of 67 to 70 hours, depending on your grade level, grade span. And that's due to those early dismissal days that we're capturing in the beginning of the school year. And although we are losing instructional time, with that piece, we are gaining professional development time for our staff. So we do see an increase in those hours. If you take a look at the breakdown, we have 7 full days for total hours of 45.5 hours of professional development for our staff. Contract in service remains the same at 6.5 hours. And again, the day that is represented in the calendar is May 22nd, 2019, or that was this previous year. Next year it'll be 2020. The early dismissal, we have 8 days for everybody, 4 additional days for elementary and middle school, and the 2 days for the high school for a total the extra hours. Again, increasing to almost 70 hours of PD time for our staff. Some of the topics that we're focusing on this coming school year, you see some of the things have been a similar thread as in years past, but again, we believe that they are priorities for our school district. But we broke it down, or Miss Kelly really took the lead with this and planned this out. She couldn't be here tonight due to her class, so she asked that I present this for the board and for the public. Instead of having it scattered around by building and by curriculum time, we broke it down to having all building time on certain days and then curriculum time on other days, and make it a more streamlined process for everyone to plan and for building principals to have the time devoted to what they need to do in their building. So it's very clear and organized. But again, the focus of district initiatives remain trauma-informed care. It would be another one. We're going to contract again with McKay Consulting to expand the work on learning targets to our middle schools using Title II and Title I funds. And again, reinforcing, we've done this past year at Charles Kelly and Stoners Hills Elementary School. So that will be continued for next school year as well. Technology initiative on Study Island, a refresher for our buildings that use Study Island as an intervention. The teacher evaluation system for goal setting, evaluations, action research. Again, we'll be setting goals as groups moving forward again. And curriculum instruction, again, new implementation of programs at the ELA in K-5. We have a new math and social studies program in the middle school level. We also have System 44 coming to the high school as a reading intervention, in addition to also transitioning to Ames Web, a newer version of Ames Web as one of our assessment tools at the district that we need to focus on again, and then also, of course, continuing our work with the MAP assessment here in the district. So that captures our curriculum instruction focus in addition to MTSS as well, kind of how we're going to be honing in on interventions moving forward. And again, the mandatory trainings, which again we have to do per either PDE or requirements for PSSA training, for Keystone training, and also for compliance training. So that is time that we have to devote as part of the 70 hours to mandatory trainings that we could use for other ways. But again, we have to use them in those specific ways moving forward. And that is it. Any questions on either calendar?
Just for the one-page calendar, can we get that posted prominently on the website after we approve it later on in this meeting?
Certainly.
Maybe tomorrow?
Sure.
That'd be great. Does anybody have any questions? So next up is the Wellness Committee Annual Update.
Okay, so I'm going to invite up Ms. Nina Tyre and Ms. Wendy Elgart, who are representatives on the Wellness Committee, and they will give their annual report.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nina Tyre, and I'm the Director of Human Resources, and I have with me Wendy Elgart.
I oversee food services for the district.
Dr. Puglisi wasn't able to be with us tonight. He is a co-chair of the Wellness Committee. So we wanted to provide an overview of the work that the Wellness Committee has done during the 18-19 school year. We meet as a committee a couple of times throughout the year. We are fortunate that the district provides us a time to meet during the school day, which makes it more accommodating to many of our members. We meet here in the boardroom, and those are the dates that we met. We have a list of our committee members. By the policy, there are certain positions or types of people that we're looking for to be on the committee. We have parents and community members and students, nurses, and different staff members. I think some of our members are here. I saw Dr. Sakella Coles, who has been a wonderful addition to our committee this year, and Dr. Alloway. I hope I'm not missing anyone. So 2 years ago at this point, what we decided to do with the Wellness Committee is to combine forces. There was an employee wellness committee as well as a student wellness committee. And we thought that in order to begin to build a culture of wellness here in the district, we wanted to bring together members of those committees to look at wellness overall here at the district. In addition, this year we had another
So
sub-advisory
when we had
committee.
the food service advisory administrative review, one of the suggestions from the person from the PDE that was here was to also combine the food service advisory board, which is another required thing, with that, since you are basically meeting with the same people about the same types of initiatives. It also allowed us to try, we're trying to expand food tasting, so it was a way to also bring in some of those tastings for people on the committee. So it was a great way to do that.
So one of the main focuses of the Wellness Committee this year was the selection of the Triennial Matrix with the policy updates that occurred almost 2 years ago. We are required to have a triennial matrix to assess how the school wellness policy, which is policy 246, is being implemented here at the district. We initially took a look at a form from New Jersey because the form from New Jersey was available before PDE released their form. And then we later looked at PDE, the Form 161. Taking a look at both, the matrices are very similar, but we feel like the PDE tool will best meet our needs. The PDE tool closely aligns with policy 246, or our policy 246 from PSBA. We also, as a committee, provided consultation related to updates made to policy 246 this past fall. And there was also valuable input about the strengthening of our social and emotional programming.
So with the Food Service Advisory Board, some of the things that happened this year is that we successfully implemented CEP across the 13 schools. So you remember that that was a process that we went through. It was extremely successful, both from Aramark's perspective and the school district's perspective. Every child in grades 1 through 12 was offered free meals. So I think that was a great thing. This year we also added a kindergarten breakfast and lunch pilot in the 3 schools, not the kindergarten center, but at Primus, Westbrook, and Hillcrest. And that also went very, very well. Reached out to parents to try to get, we'll try to get some additional feedback. I did speak to the teachers about it, what works, what's faster, what takes kids longer to eat, since we are still talking about a half day. Next year, we will expand CEP and be able to say that we feed all students in the district in kindergarten through 12th grade, and including the kindergarten center. This year, as I mentioned before, we also had our administrative review. That happens once every 3 years. There were no findings from PDE. They're very proud of our food service program, about our wellness policy, and all the district policies that we have regarding food. And they love that we do CEP and try to feed as many kids as possible for free. We also are trying some different breakfast type options and implemented hot breakfast. We bought some additional equipment that will be coming in this summer so that we can do that more regularly. It is something that we just tried some egg sandwiches and different things like that to try to, make breakfast a little bit better. Some other things that happened with regard to food service in conjunction with Aramark is that they tried to speed up the lines at the secondary schools by adding additional lines, reconfiguring what was there. That seems to be successful. They continued their fruit and vegetable samplings at all grade levels. We're trying to expose children to as many different types of fruit and vegetables as possible. And one of the things when we met with students about what types of foods they wanted to see, some of the feedback from that was to see more ethnic items, see more different types of foods. So we tried some Indian foods, and you can see up there some different types of Caesar salad. We tried Mexican food and Italian food and spicier food. That was definitely feedback to do that. And they've been very popular items at the high school and moving down to the middle school. And we are trying to add some spicier things to the elementary schools also, and it's been well received. Another thing that happened at the high school is what they call scratch cooking, and that's making pizza in front of the students and making their own dough and doing pizza and calzones and things like that, so students can see that it actually is a fresh item that they're producing right in front of them, and we hope to expand that also to different types of food next year. We are looking to, it's not on there, but we are looking to add a chef that would oversee the food, work with Aramark to really create different types of foods and be able to oversee food quality and different items. So we're excited about that too, and hopefully we'll be able to present that person and that idea to you in the fall.
For our employee wellness initiatives, so just as a reminder, the district is part of the Delaware County Healthcare Trust. I serve as one of the representatives of the district to the Healthcare Trust, along with teacher Kathy Ann Brazunas. And we both serve on the Wellbeing Committee through the Healthcare Trust, or through the Health Trust. And the Health Trust has, over the last 3 years, really made a push to make well-being initiatives important and providing different options for districts participating. And we've been, as a district, very active in those initiatives. This past August, we had our biometric screenings, and we had 154 employees participate in the screenings. It was very successful compared to some of the biometric screenings we've offered in the past. I think what worked best is that we offered the screenings when everyone came to get their IDs. So it was a really good time. I think we were only limited by the number of screenings that could be offered during that time period. So this year, we're working on having more of the nurses there to be able to provide additional biometric screenings. In November, what happens, it's called Maintain, Don't Gain. It begins right before Thanksgiving. You weigh in, and then you weigh in right after you come back from winter break, and the goal is to not gain more than 2 pounds. It's a very popular initiative that we have here, and we've actually been doing it, I'd say, about 4 years at this point. And we had 71 successful participants, which is very good. We did colorful choices for the first time this year in March, where it's encouraging employees to, look for colorful, healthy food. We didn't have as high a participation in that this year, but I'm hoping that next year can be built upon. There, through the trust, is now a well-being quarterly newsletter that's going out, which provides well-being information to our employees and just also shares different initiatives that are going on, as well as how different districts throughout the trust are participating. The YMCA continues to offer discounts to our employees for them to join the YMCA as well as their families. The number of YMCAs participating has increased, so that's helpful to our employees because they can either join a YMCA right here near the district or closer to where they live if they don't live here in the district. And I already talked a little bit about the Health Trust. So looking ahead to 2019 and 20 and beyond, our last meeting, we had a discussion about what we want to do for the upcoming school year. We kind of feel like we've worked through the policy, we've worked through the matrix, which was, we had to get those things done, and now we're starting to talk about a little bit more fun initiatives. We want to look forward to how we can create a district-wide culture of wellness and provide initiatives that not only motivate our students, but also our employees. There is an initiative through the Healthcare Trust that encourages families to get out and be active and try healthy cooking and maybe volunteer. And we thought that that might be a really great initiative to push out not only to our employees, but also to our students. And wouldn't it be great as a community if we were looking at those things together? So next year, we're going to work on building a calendar where maybe we can offer similar types of initiatives each month. We feel like there are already many things going on throughout our schools here in the district, like Healthy Crunch Day, where everyone bites into an apple at the same time in the fall, or all different types of programs going on already in the schools, and we would like to provide those to different schools next year. That's all that we have, if anyone has any questions.
Any questions or comments?
And I just wanted to add, we're really appreciative of the support of Dr. Taylor and her input in the committee.
I just have a comment. I love the idea of the cooking demonstrations, or what you're calling the scratch cooking. And I'm just curious, what is on the mac and cheese bar? What kind of toppings do you have?
So they have different toppings. They tried scallions. They had they had a bacon topping, tomatoes.
Yeah.
They're just
Like that.
experimenting. It seems to be a thing.
Wendy, I wanted to find out, with the chef, I know you were saying you were looking at getting somebody, like, how are you looking to bring that chef on? Is that somebody who already works with Aramark, or, because I see, when we went to the conference back in the spring, that was a big push. We had a lot of chefs there that were doing, fresh cooking and taste testing.
So they're currently looking at 2 different people that have applied. They are not people that have worked with Aramark before. One was actually, they're commercial chefs. One was at a hotel. One had his own restaurant. And they are people that are looking to get into the school district and try something different. So they do have that background with food. They're also going to come in. The way that they're going to apply is that Aramark is going to give them their commodities list. These are the types of foods that we have, and they're going to create some different foods and cook it for us, and we'll taste it. So we're looking to do that next week.
I know a lot of places do like a cook-off like that as a fundraiser. Like they just give them all the ingredients and just like.
It is like that, like Top Chef. Yeah, exactly. Right. I know, it is fun.
Just want to take a second. Nina, all the years of service you've given here, and to Wendy, not only to the committee, but as administrators here, Nina, you wear a lot of hats: policy, wellness, benefits, compliance. You've been outstanding, and your work on this has been great too. And Wendy, there's nobody who's a bigger advocate for feeding the children of the district, regardless of the conversations, than you. And to pull this off and the work that you do, and you said you food service, but it's not just food service. It's nurses, psychologists, guidance counselors, title programming, federal programs, and you both speak to an administrator in Upper Darby has to wear a lot of hats, and I appreciate the time and effort you put into pulling this off.
Thank you.
Okay, the last agenda item, again, is for board action. These 3 policies will be going to a second reading. If everything goes well and you got any questions you may have tonight, Policy 103, Policy 103.1, and Policy 104 are all discriminatory against discriminatory practices in school or in employment. Any questions from the board on the policies?
These are all language changes recommended by PSBA,
It just
correct?
clarifies the investigative process and outlines make things more clear in terms of how to do that process. But largely, it's the same content which you had before.
Does anybody have any comments or questions about the policies that are in first read? All right. So at this time, we'll take public comments. Are there any public comments tonight on the agenda items that were presented?
Kate Smith, 4716 Cedar Lane. Thank you. I just had a question about the Best Buddies program. First of all, it's very exciting that it's coming in a formal way to the district. Can you just clarify about the BH part? So is BH not going to have a life skills program anymore?
So, right now, they don't have a life skills program housed at Beverly Hills. They have one section of the autistic support program that we, over time, we're transitioning back to Drexel Hill Middle School.
So all the students will go to Drexel Hill Middle School, correct. And that's why all the students would be eligible as the pair, the partner, the buddy partner?
Right, so they're not really going, the 8th grade group that's there right now in Beverly Hills is now going to the high school. So we're not going to be bringing any new 6th graders in to Beverly Hills. We'll be going right to Drexel Hill to continue with that program being in one location.
Thank you. I didn't understand that originally, and I was confused as to why only the students from DH would have the opportunity to participate in the program formally, but I understand better now if the students aren't.
Well, and just to clarify too, the
school.
club is going to be a student activity at Drexel Hill. It doesn't mean that students won't have the opportunity to be a part of it. They have a different disability. So it's not just those programs for any student with a disability, but the club's going to be starting at Drexel Hill in the high school to start, and then we'll look at expanding it as quickly as we can.
I see. So it's possible that it still could come to BH because
sure.
it's not dependent
Absolutely.
on your disability category.
Absolutely not.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to understand. I appreciate it.
Yes, and as a point of clarity, the other concern that comes up, to Mrs. Smith's point, is the space issues at Beverly Hills Middle School are another reason why we are running into some of these problems. Eventually, the district was considering, through its ed spec process and through the facilities, to provide services in the least restricted environment and home schools where we can and possible. Space continues to be a problem at both middle schools, and that's another consideration. We try to expand the programming in the least restricted environment that way, and we'll continue to look to do so as we look to redistrict and build the programs. But right now, space is an issue.
Right, and at one point in time, we did have both programs existing on both middle schools, but because of space.
I'm sorry, so I'm back up because I wasn't going to get into all that. Should I say my name again? Kate Smith, 4716 Cedar Lane. It is, I understand about the space constraints, but it is, it's always been a concern in the community that if you have a child who has a certain disability, that if you live in one community and you tell people that your child goes to a different school in the community, they can pretty much figure out what disability your child has. That's one issue. And then, so it's disappointing that that's becoming more entrenched instead of less entrenched, even though I understand the demands on the facilities. Is there a thought as to how the district will serve families? That the issue is when you get to middle school and high school, of course, you rely on your child's, not just the child on the peer network, but the parents rely on the other adults in the community who have helped raise the child and been a network. With the middle school plan, is there a thought that these programs will be offered at least in 2 locations, or are you even thinking yet as to how that's going to look?
So let me clarify first, Ms. Smith, that a disability alone does not dictate where you go to school. It's a program and the needs of the student, no matter what disability. I think you know that.
I understand
right?
that.
So it doesn't, just because you have a certain disability category doesn't mean that you're already earmarked or marked to go to a certain program. That should not be happening.
I understand the intention,
So,
but there
well, I mean, we can
lived experience.
agree
Yes,
to disagree
understood.
with that. But at any rate, we're going to look at, obviously through the ed spec process and looking at our middle school programming, where we can best serve all of our programs. It's a lot to have every program in every district, and what would happen, what we think would happen, would be moving of sections around each year based upon enrollment if we held every program in every building. So we talk about keeping things, continuity for students to stay in the school they started. That's another variable that we have to consider when deciding where to put our programming in our middle schools and all of our schools for that matter. So while I agree with what you're saying, the LRE is always the best approach to go. There's also financial constraints we have to be considerate of when doing that.
Well, I totally understand that, and even on ed specs, we even talked about.
That's right. We were on that committee
Yes,
together.
I was on
That's
that
right.
committee, and we even talked about elementary schools that it wouldn't be realistic to have the intensive services necessarily everywhere, but that trying to regionalize it at least so that if you had a child who lived in Westbrook Park, say, they weren't being schlepped over somewhere so far from their neighborhood. But I understand all the points you're making.
Right. So we're considering that information, those variables when we're talking about our new programming at our middle schools.
Thank you.
For sure.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments from the public on the agenda items? Seeing none, will you review the?
Okay, agenda item number 1 is informational for the board and public. The Delaware County Literacy Council, Dr. Manfrey and the council presented some data, and also we recognized Kim Johnson, she's still here, may not be still here, in her story. Agenda item number 2, Ms. Flanagan, Mr. Menner, and Ms. Kraus presented the Best Buddies programs for board action to start a club here in Upper Darby School District. Agenda item number 3 was both the one-page calendar, again, I'm sorry, for board action, one-page calendar and the professional development calendar going into the 1920 school year. Agenda number 4 was informational only. This was the Wellness Committee annual update. Ms. Elgart and Ms. Tyre presented the work they've been doing this year in updating reviewing the policy and working on plans with the committee, part of their annual review. And last, agenda number 5 is for board action also, is the 3 policies that went through a first reading in the June board meeting.
So, is everyone comfortable moving forward the Best Buddies Club? Yes. Okay. And then the one-page calendar and the professional development calendar? Yes. Okay. And the policies? Yes? All right, so it seems like we have consensus to move forward all the agenda items that require that. So at this point, there's a motion in order for adjournment of the Education and Pupil Services Committee.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.